Hey everyone, Stony here with another Mechabellum replay. And this time we are a supply specialist and we'll be going against, I believe it's a marksman specialist. Let's jump into round one. Alright, so it's marksman Mustangs versus Mustangs and crawlers. No questions, I am going with some Arclights because the Arclights are good against crawlers and relatively decent against Mustangs. The other option I had was just to go with some crawlers myself, but we will lose out on the Mustang war and also on the crawler war because he would have 3 pairs of Mustangs, as well as more crawlers. So that will put us at a disadvantage. So instead we went with Arclight, which I believe was the safer option. And it also sets our board up nicely for later stages because Arclights are excellent for chaff clear. Alright, Arclight on the left, taking care of business. Arclight on the right, unfortunately, got targeted by the Mustang and went down fairly quickly. And at this point, these snipers are doing nothing at all. I mean, they're picking up these units one by one. But they are a good unit to have, and they're cheap, so it doesn't justify the cost of getting rid of them just for one unit. And I'm sure at some point they'll have giants, so I would just keep the marksman for the time being. Not too bad. Round 2. My opponent picks smart marksman. I'm thinking he is going to go with some sort of carry marksman, and I've decided to try for carry Arclights because I know, at least at the current state of the board, there are plenty of units that Arclights are going to be good for, especially with range. My opponent was quite clever. I think he anticipated this is what I wanted, so he preemptively went with the marksman just to take care of my Arclights. And as you can see, marksmen are quite efficient at getting rid of Arclights. What that means is I'm going to need some chaff, because as of right now, the only chaff clear for the opponent are these Mustangs, which aren't very powerful at all. Now, I did win this round by a hair, and now the challenge is to figure out how to build my chaff. There are some pretty fantastic options for chaff clear. Me being the guy with a carry Arclight, I think I also wanted some chaff clear, so my Arclight would stop shooting at crawlers and Mustangs. I mean, they're okay against them, but over time I think they've become a little bit weak, especially if they're splitting the crawlers behind the towers. So I wanted some additional protection, and at the same time got a few sets of fans just to protect myself from the initial round of the marksman shots. My opponent did pick the Rhino. You noticed that my damage output was a bit low, so he wanted to rush in and take the tower. And let's see how that goes. I added a extra Arclight just to make it even, a bit more support on this side. Alright, Mr. Rhino running in. I don't have enough chaff out here to stop the Rhino. I think the Mustangs are going to have to act as the chaff shield. but the Rhino is just coming in. I got 2 marksmen shooting at it non-stop, and still couldn't put it down. The right hand side also falls to the marksman, unfortunately. So it's a big round for my opponent this time. Oh, I did get the Rhino at the last second. But everything else was falling. And because he did pick the Smart Marksman card, which means these marksmen are all going to get a level, which is bad news for me. So here I could have taken intensive training, knowing that I'm going to go with Arclights. But the problem with carry Arclights, or just doing Arclights in this strategy, is that it can be easily countered, for example, by air. My Arclights currently do not carry anti-air, which means I do need to have a solution. Right now I do have my Mustangs. And another way these Arclights can get countered, for example, if they start to go a bunch of fortresses with shield or fortresses with punch, then my Arclights aren't going to be that good. So I'm going to need some sort of support. Arclights are an excellent, consistent output of damage, but it does have a few weaknesses, especially at higher levels, because they know exactly how to counter carry Arclight if you just play nothing but Arclights. So I chose the senior manufacturing specialist because I knew I wanted to go with giant, in particular melters. I already had the Vulcan on the field for additional chaff clear, but I really wanted to have melters. One is to cover the air for some larger units. I think the Mustangs are going to be fine against wasps, but for overlords I would need some melting points. Added additional chaff, this time in the form of crawlers. They're a bit tankier than the Fangs, and they're going to run forward and draw quite a bit of aggro from all these Mustangs as well as the Marksmen. Left side is doing a lot better this time. My right side is excellent. The Vulcan is tanking a ton of damage, but it's also giving them a lot of experience for this marksman, so that's not great. Alright, round 5. Lots of interesting choices here, but I think I wanted to build up my chaff more, and I've decided to just skip altogether. My opponent went with the deployment module. I think the goal here is just to move the Rhino around a little bit, and that's okay. So he moved the Rhino from the left side to the right hand side, knowing that I may not have enough chaff. Actually, it's the equal amount of chaff. Well, one extra set of crawlers. So he wanted to come here to aggro with my Vulcan, and so that his Rhino, his crawlers, will be able to rush in. This is the turn that both of us took Elite Marksman, which means the race is on, right? As we level, we're scaling at the exact same speed, and we're doing incrementally more damage per level with the Elite. I think looking at this board now, I do prefer my board just slightly, because I do have additional chaff in the end, and I am more efficient at killing his chaff. So I am confident with my ability to win the chaff war, and once I win the chaff war, marksmen are terrible against chaff, and my Arclight can just walk up. So let's see what happens. Got 2 more Arclights just to fill some holes in the middle, and these are low level Arclights, so their primary job is to clear out chaff as they get too close. Alright, let's go. Mr. Rhino coming down on our Vulcan, but I think with these level 4 Arclights and also the Marksmen. The Rhino would have built up pretty fast, and it did. And that just means my Arclight will just be clearing up the rest of the chaff, and they're doing a fantastic job. So this is what I was talking about. Once you win the chaff war against Marksmen, or elite Marksmen, your chaff will just carry you to the end. Laser sight came up, and both of us took laser sight. I mean, when you're having a mirror match like this, who gets the first shot makes the entire world of difference. So right now the game plan is pretty simple. For me, is I want to win the chaff war. I know I have better chaff clear because I'm going to carry Arclight. For him, he wants to also win the chaff war because he knows once the chaff clears, elite Marksman beats elite Arclight any day because they shoot further, right? And they get the first shot by a lot. So for example, this is a level 4 Marksman, 235 meters of range versus my level 4 Arclight, both with the laser sight, 188. So about a good 40 meters of a difference. And that's almost, I mean, walking speed is 7 meters per second. I mean, that is 3 seconds. That's 2 shots. You get 2 free shots on my unit before I can even shoot once. And that's a dead Arclight in that 2 shots. So let's see. Mr. Rhino is not doing anything. Focus down pretty quickly. And this turn I also took charge shots because I figured they might want to go with something a bit heavier, so I went with charge shots, and they did end up going Vulcan, so this charge shot really came in handy. So as you can see here, here's the power of the elite Marksmen. So once the chaff clears, they just start tearing things up. Now, fortunately, I was already pretty close to his units. But if my units were a little further, he would have been able to take a lot more from me. Alright, next round, Melting Point came up. That's exactly the unit I was looking for. It provides decent anti-air against large units. And I also wanted Melting Point because I ran crawler production on them. And crawler production is invaluable at the end of this particular matchup because once all of your chaffs are dead, a few crawlers makes a world of difference because these marksmen would just be stuck on shooting crawlers while my Arclight advance and take them out. And that also makes the job a little bit more difficult for my opponent because now not only do they have to clear my initial wave of chaff, they also have to worry about the constant, once every 30-second production of those 8 crawlers. They will need to find some way to deal with those ultra late chaff because the marksmen aren't going to do it. So if I were him, I wanted to put some really slow units, preferably with range, that will be able to take care of these crawlers. I might even go with like Vulcan all the way in the back line, so by the time they get to the front, the battle is half done and the Vulcan will just take care of the crawlers, where the marksman takes care of everything else. So put oil on the ground and lit on fire, so all my chaff died on this side. And without chaff, these marksmen just go boom boom and they just die. On my left hand side, things are doing a little better. I did have a bit more chaff left over, but not by too much, so I did lose the chaff war on that side as well. So right now I have a bit of a problem. My chaff died a little bit sooner than his chaff, and I wanted to make sure that I win chaff war, because that's the only way our carrier I can beat elite marksman or carry marksman. I went with additional melting points for the only purpose of crawler production. absolutely needed that extra 2 rounds of crawlers. I believe the last game lasted more than 30 seconds, so that's at least 2 rounds of crawlers being produced. I'm hoping to get to the minute mark, so that's 3 rounds of crawlers being produced, and that's going to cause a lot of problem for his unit composition. I also took Subterranean on the crawlers because he's got so many range units and a ton of Mustangs. Now, of course, he's got high explosive, which is good for chaff, but when it's underground, it takes only, I believe, 70% damage. No, 50% less damage. So think of them as crawlers with photon coating on them when they're underground. So they do take quite a lot longer to kill, and as a result of that, I was able to get quite close to them. So on this side, I mean, he still has quite a lot of chaff left over, but as you can see right now, as my crawlers are spawning, these additional crawlers, sure, there's only a few of them, but that is holding up so much damage from their marksmen. And because of how many giants I've had, that was GG. So I hope you enjoyed this one, and be sure to stick around and check out my other videos. And I do post, or try to post, every single day, so I hope to see you again next time. Cheers.